The morning sun bathed the sprawling flea market in Austin, Texas, casting long shadows across the rows of vibrant stalls. The air buzzed with the hum of conversations, the occasional bark of a dog, and the tantalizing aromas wafting from food trucks. Sophie, a spirited 5-year-old with auburn pigtails and a curiosity that knew no bounds, clutched her mother Anna's hand tightly while her father Michael walked a step ahead, scanning the eclectic mix of antiques, crafts, and trinkets. "Mommy, look at that," Sophie chirped, pointing at a stall filled with colorful wind chimes tinkling softly in the breeze. "Stay close, Sophie," Anna replied, her tone gentle but firm as she adjusted her sun hat. As they meandered through the lively crowd, Sophie's gaze darted from one attraction to the next until something in the corner of the market made her freeze. Tucked between a stack of rusted tools and a pile of faded furniture was a sight that pulled at her small, empathetic heart. A large German shepherd tied to a wooden post with a frayed rope. The dog's once majestic coat was dull and matted, his ribs prominent under his rough fur. His brown eyes, clouded with fear and exhaustion, darted nervously at the bustling market around him. A shallow metal bowl of murky water sat nearby, untouched. "Mommy, Daddy, we have to help him." Sophie tugged at Anna's hand, her wide green eyes pleading. Michael stopped in his tracks and turned to see what had caught his daughter's attention. His brows knitted in concern. "That's not right. Who would leave a dog like that here?" "Let's not jump to conclusions," Anna said cautiously. "Maybe his owner is just running an errand, but he looks so sad." Sophie insisted, her voice trembling. "We can't just leave him here." Michael knelt to Sophie's level, placing a comforting hand on her small shoulder. "Sweetheart, we don't know the full story, but you're right, it doesn't look good. Let's see if we can find someone nearby who knows about the dog." The three approached a gruff-looking man lounging on a folding chair a few feet away, a cigarette dangling from his lips. He looked up with an irritated scowl as they neared. "Is that your dog?" Michael asked, his tone polite but firm. "Yeah." "What of it?" the man replied, taking a drag from his cigarette. "He doesn't look well," Anna interjected, her voice filled with concern. "Are you taking care of him?" The man shrugged. "He's fine, just a bit scrawny. Ain't got much time for him lately, but he's a tough one." Sophie stepped forward, her small hands clenched into fists. "He needs better food and water. He looks hungry and scared." The man let out a dry chuckle. "What's it to you, little girl? You want to buy him? Be my guest. $100 and he's yours." Anna and Michael exchanged uneasy glances. The man's dismissive attitude was infuriating, but this wasn't a decision to be made lightly. "Let's step aside and talk," Michael said, gently guiding Anna and Sophie a few feet away. "We can't just walk away," Anna whispered, her voice tinged with worry. "But if we take him, it's a big responsibility. We don't know his health or temperament." "I know," Michael said, running a hand through his short-cropped hair. "But look at Sophie. She's already attached. And honestly, I don't trust that man to take care of the dog." Sophie, overhearing the conversation, tugged at Michael's sleeve. "Daddy, please. He needs us." After a long pause, Michael nodded. "All right, we'll take him." They returned to the man, and Michael reluctantly handed over the cash. As Anna untied the rope, the dog flinched, his body tense with fear. "Easy, buddy," Anna murmured softly, her voice soothing. Sophie crouched down and whispered, "Don't worry, we're going to take care of you." For the first time, the dog's wary eyes softened just a little, as if he understood her promise. The family left the market, the neglected German shepherd walking hesitantly beside them. Sophie had already decided on a name for him, Rex. The drive home from the flea market was unusually quiet. Sophie sat in the back seat of their family SUV, her small hands resting gently on Rex's bony frame. The dog lay curled on the seat beside her, his head resting cautiously on her lap. His breaths were shallow, and his tail didn't wag, but he hadn't resisted being led into the car. It was as if he had resigned himself to whatever fate awaited him. Is he going to be okay? Sophie asked softly, looking up at her parents in the front seats. Anna glanced at Michael, her brows furrowed with concern. We'll do everything we can, sweetheart. First, we'll need to take him to the vet to see what kind of care he needs. Michael nodded, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. He's in bad shape, no doubt about it. But we'll give him a chance. When they arrived home, the family quickly realized the enormity of their decision. Their modest suburban home, nestled in a quiet Austin neighborhood, was not equipped for an unwell and potentially traumatized dog. Let's get him inside carefully, Anna instructed. We don't want to overwhelm him. Michael opened the car door, but Rex didn't move. His ears twitched nervously, and his body remained stiff. Come on, buddy, Michael coaxed, holding out his hand. But Rex stayed put, his eyes darting between them. Sophie climbed out of the car and crouched down, her voice gentle. It's okay, Rex. You're safe now. Something in her tone seemed to break through Rex's fear. With a slow, tentative movement, he stood on shaky legs and followed Sophie up the driveway. Inside the house, they set up a cozy corner for him with a soft blanket and a bowl of fresh water. Rex sniffed the area cautiously before curling up on the blanket, his head resting on his paws. Poor thing, Anna murmured, watching from the kitchen. He's so fragile. We're going to have our hands full. Michael leaned against the counter, his expression serious. This isn't just about giving him food and a warm place to sleep. He's been through something. You saw how he flinched when you untied him. There's a lot of damage to undo. Anna nodded. I'll call the vet first thing in the morning. As the evening wore on, Sophie refused to leave Rex's side. She brought him a stuffed animal from her own collection, placing it gently near his paws. This is Mr. Fluffy, she told him, her voice full of childlike sincerity. He's my favorite, but you can borrow him. He'll keep you company. Rex didn't react, but Sophie was undeterred. You'll see, Rex. You're going to love it here. That night, as the house settled into silence, Anna and Michael sat in the living room, reflecting on the day. Do you think we did the right thing? Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael sighed, running a hand over his face. I don't know. It's a big responsibility, and there's no guarantee we can help him. But leaving him there? That would have been wrong. Anna reached for his hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. We'll figure it out. Together. The next morning, they took Rex to a nearby veterinary clinic. Dr. Sarah Bennett, a compassionate veterinarian with years of experience, examined him thoroughly. He's severely underweight and dehydrated, Dr. Bennett explained as she reviewed his condition. His coat is in terrible shape, and there's evidence of neglect. He'll need proper nutrition, grooming, and plenty of patience. This won't be a quick fix. Michael nodded solemnly. We're ready to do what it takes. Sophie, sitting quietly in the corner of the exam room, suddenly spoke up. He's going to be happy with us. I promise. Dr. Bennett smiled warmly. With that kind of love, he has a good chance. The family left the clinic with a bag of prescribed dog food, medications, and a long list of care instructions. As they walked to the car, Rex seemed to lift his head a little higher. For the first time, they noticed a faint glimmer of hope in his tired eyes. The days following Rex's rescue were a test of patience and perseverance for the family. At home, Sophie was determined to make him feel loved, but Rex's behavior revealed the scars of his past. He spent most of his time in the corner of the living room where his bed had been set up, watching the family with cautious eyes. Any sudden movement or loud noise would send him retreating into himself, his ears pinned back and his body trembling. He's so scared, Mommy, Sophie said one afternoon, sitting cross-legged on the floor near Rex's bed. She wasn't close enough to touch him but stayed just within his view, her presence a quiet reassurance. Anna knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair out of her daughter's face. He's had a hard life, sweetie. It's going to take time for him to learn that he's safe now. Do you think he'll ever be happy? Sophie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Anna smiled gently. With you by his side? I think he has a very good chance. Despite the reassurance, Sophie couldn't help but feel disheartened every time Rex flinched at her attempts to approach. She began to spend hours sitting near him, reading her favorite books aloud. This is The Velveteen Rabbit, she explained one day, opening the worn cover. It's about a toy bunny that gets loved so much, he becomes real. Maybe if I love you enough, you'll feel better too. Rex didn't move, but his ears twitched at the sound of her voice. Meanwhile, Michael took on the task of improving Rex's physical health. Armed with the vet's instructions, he prepared nutrient-rich meals to help the dog regain his strength. Each feeding time became a careful ritual, as Rex would only eat when no one was near. Michael would place the bowl down and step back, waiting patiently as Rex sniffed cautiously before beginning to eat. He's eating more each day, Michael said one evening as the family gathered for dinner. That's progress. Small steps, Anna agreed, though her eyes lingered on the corner where Rex lay, still distant from the rest of them. One night, a sudden thunderstorm rolled through Austin. The first crack of lightning lit up the house, followed by a deafening rumble. Rex bolted upright, his eyes wide with panic. He darted into the nearest room, Sophie's bedroom, and wedged himself under her bed, trembling violently. "Mommy! Daddy!" Sophie called out, running into the hallway. "Rex is scared." Anna and Michael rushed in to find Sophie kneeling by the bed, her hand stretched out toward Rex. "It's okay, Rex," she murmured, her voice calm and soothing. "It's just the storm. I'm here. Let's give him some space," Michael said gently, but Sophie shook her head. "He needs to know he's not alone." Minutes passed as Sophie continued to speak softly, recounting stories of her day and reminding Rex that he was safe. Gradually, the trembling subsided. Rex didn't come out, but his eyes stopped darting around in fear. Later that night, as the storm cleared, Anna and Michael found Sophie asleep on the floor beside the bed, her small hand still reaching under it toward Rex. The dog's head rested near her fingers, as if he'd finally begun to trust her presence. Michael whispered, "I think she's breaking through." Anna nodded, her eyes misty. "She's teaching him what love looks like." From that moment, small changes began to emerge. Rex would wag his tail faintly when Sophie entered the room. He started venturing out of his corner to sniff around while the family was nearby. And though he was still skittish, his eyes no longer held the same depth of fear they once did. One evening, as the family watched a movie, Rex cautiously approached the couch. Sophie, sitting cross-legged on the floor, froze as he stopped just inches from her. Slowly, he lowered himself onto the rug, letting out a soft sigh. It was the first time he had willingly joined them. Sophie beamed, her voice a whisper. "He's part of the family now." Michael placed a hand on Anna's, squeezing gently. "He's getting there." Despite Rex's small but noticeable improvements, his trauma presented challenges the family couldn't tackle alone. The moments of progress were often followed by setbacks. Unexpected noises would send him bolting, and even routine activities like taking him outside felt like navigating a minefield. "This is more than we can handle by ourselves," Anna admitted one evening as she and Michael sat at the kitchen table. "We need someone who knows how to work with dogs like Rex." Michael nodded in agreement. "I'll do some research tomorrow. There's got to be someone local who specializes in behavior issues." The next day, after hours of searching online and reading reviews, Michael found the name Dr. David Miller. A renowned animal behaviorist based in Austin, Dr. Miller had spent years working with abused and neglected animals. Michael called his office, and to their relief, he had an opening for an evaluation the following week. When the day of the appointment arrived, the family drove to Dr. Miller's clinic, a warm and welcoming space tucked away in a quiet part of town. Sophie held Rex's leash tightly as they walked inside, whispering words of encouragement. "It's okay, Rex. This is a nice place. You'll like it here." The waiting room smelled faintly of lavender, and the walls were adorned with pictures of animals Dr. Miller had rehabilitated: dogs, cats, and even a few exotic creatures. Sophie pointed at a photo of a scruffy terrier mid-leap through an agility course. "Look, Rex, that could be you someday." Rex, however, was less enthusiastic. He cowered behind Sophie, his tail tucked between his legs. "Welcome," said a deep, reassuring voice. Dr. Miller, a tall man in his early 50s with kind eyes and a salt and pepper beard, entered the room. "You must be Rex's family." Sophie nodded eagerly. "We rescued him from a bad man. He was really sad, but we're trying to make him happy again." Dr. Miller smiled warmly. "It sounds like you're doing an amazing job already." He crouched to Rex's level, keeping his distance as he studied the dog's body language. "Hi there, buddy. You're safe here." Over the next hour, Dr. Miller conducted a gentle assessment, observing how Rex responded to various stimuli and interacting with him in a non-threatening way. Rex remained wary, but allowed the doctor to get closer than anyone outside the family had before. Dr. Miller sat down with the family afterward to discuss his findings. Rex has been through significant trauma. His fear responses suggest he's had more than just neglect. There may have been abuse as well. But the good news is, he's showing signs of trust, especially with Sophie. That's a strong foundation. What can we do to help him? Anna asked, her voice steady but filled with worry. Dr. Miller outlined a comprehensive plan, emphasizing patience and consistency. We'll focus on positive reinforcement, reward him for small victories, coming when called, relaxing in a new environment, anything that shows progress. We'll also gradually expose him to stimuli that make him anxious, but in controlled settings. Sophie listened intently, her small hands clasped in determination. "I can do that. I talk to him every day, and I read him stories. He likes it, I think." Dr. Miller smiled. "Keep doing that, Sophie. Your kindness is making a bigger difference than you know." The family left the clinic with renewed hope and a clear sense of direction. Over the following weeks, they implemented Dr. Miller's techniques. Sophie turned training sessions into a game, rewarding Rex with treats and gentle praise whenever he faced a new challenge. Michael worked on leash training, taking Rex on short, quiet walks to build his confidence. One evening, as the family sat in the backyard under the soft glow of string lights, Rex did something unexpected. He approached Anna and placed his head in her lap, his eyes closing as she stroked his ears. "Look at that," Michael said quietly, a smile spreading across his face. Anna's voice wavered with emotion. "He's starting to trust us." Sophie clapped her hands softly. "I knew he could do it. I told you he's brave." Rex's journey was far from over, but with the family's love and Dr. Miller's guidance, the barriers that once seemed insurmountable began to crumble. The days that followed Dr. Miller's intervention were a blend of persistence, patience, and moments of quiet triumph. Rex's progress was gradual but undeniable. Sophie took her role as his primary confidant to heart, spending every spare moment in his company. She would sit beside him for hours in the living room, her favorite storybooks spread around her like a protective circle. "This one's about a lion who finds a lost baby in the woods," Sophie explained one afternoon, her voice animated. "He doesn't know what to do at first, but then he decides to take care of the baby. Just like we're taking care of you, Rex." Rex's ears perked up slightly at the sound of her voice, though his gaze remained cautious. Sophie took it as a victory. Anna and Michael were equally committed to Rex's recovery. Michael took over the evening walks, venturing a little farther each day. At first, Rex resisted, his body tense and his steps hesitant. But Michael's calm demeanor and steady encouragement began to make a difference. "You're doing great, buddy," Michael said one evening as they rounded the corner of their block. "A few weeks ago, you wouldn't even step out the front door. Look at you now." By the time they returned home, Rex's tail was wagging faintly, a small but significant milestone. Inside the house, Anna worked on introducing Rex to new experiences in a controlled environment. One evening, she sat on the kitchen floor with a tennis ball in hand. "Rex," she called softly, rolling the ball a short distance across the floor. Rex eyed the ball warily, his body language stiff. Sophie, seated nearby, offered her encouragement. "It's okay, Rex. It's just a ball. You can do it." After a moment of hesitation, Rex took a tentative step forward, then another. When he finally reached the ball, he sniffed it cautiously before nudging it with his nose. "He did it," Sophie exclaimed, clapping her hands excitedly. Anna beamed. "Good boy, Rex." She handed him a treat, which he accepted with a gentle motion, his trust visibly growing. One evening, as the family gathered in the backyard for dinner, Rex surprised everyone by joining them unprompted. He sat near Sophie, his tail wagging as she shared pieces of her sandwich with him. "This feels like the first normal moment we've had in months," Michael remarked, leaning back in his chair. Anna nodded, her eyes misty as she watched Rex relax in their presence. It's amazing what love and patience can do. But the most poignant moment came one stormy night. The rain pounded against the windows, and the occasional crack of thunder shook the house. Rex, who had once cowered in fear during storms, stayed by Sophie's side, his body pressed against hers for comfort. "It's okay, Rex," Sophie whispered, stroking his fur. "I'm here. I won't let anything happen to you." For the first time, Rex didn't flinch at the thunder. Instead, he leaned into Sophie, letting out a contented sigh. The next morning, Michael found Sophie asleep on the couch with Rex curled up at her feet. He took a moment to capture the scene with his phone before quietly stepping away. In the weeks that followed, Rex's confidence continued to grow. He began approaching Anna and Michael for affection, wagging his tail more frequently and even showing interest in play. His transformation was nothing short of remarkable, and the family couldn't help but feel proud of how far he had come. "He's finally starting to believe he's safe," Anna said one evening as she watched Rex play with a tug toy Sophie had bought for him. "And that he's loved," Michael added, smiling. Sophie, holding the other end of the toy, grinned as Rex gently tugged. "He's the best dog ever." Though there was still work to be done, Rex's growing trust and affection became a testament to the power of resilience and unconditional love. By the time summer rolled around, Rex was almost unrecognizable from the fearful, neglected dog they had found at the flea market. His coat, now glossy and well-groomed, reflected the care he received. His once timid demeanor had transformed into a quiet confidence. While he still carried hints of his past trauma, his progress inspired the family to try something new. It was during a Saturday morning community event in Dallas, a 2-hour drive from their Austin home, that Rex's hidden potential came to light. The family had traveled to attend a local pet festival, an event filled with vendors, food trucks, and various activities for animals and their owners. "Sophie, look at this," Anna called, pointing to a sign advertising an agility demonstration for dogs. "They're letting people try out the course with their pets." Sophie's eyes lit up. "Can Rex do it? Please, Mommy? He's so smart. I know he can." Michael looked uncertain. "He's never done anything like this before. It might be too much for him, but it could be good for him," Anna countered. "He's come so far already. This might be another step in building his confidence." With some hesitation, Michael agreed. They signed Rex up for the beginner course, which included simple obstacles like tunnels, low jumps, and weave poles. When it was Rex's turn, Sophie stood at the starting line with him, holding his leash. She crouched down to his level and stroked his head. "You can do this, Rex. I'll be right here with you." The crowd quieted as they began. Sophie led Rex gently toward the first obstacle, a low jump. He hesitated, his ears twitching as he scanned the unfamiliar setup. "Come on, buddy," Michael encouraged from the sidelines. "You've got this." Sophie knelt and pointed at the jump. "It's just like when we play at home, Rex. Remember? You're so good at this." As if understanding her words, Rex tentatively approached the jump. With a sudden burst of energy, he leaped over it. The small crowd erupted in cheers, and Sophie clapped excitedly. From there, something seemed to click. Rex's movements grew more confident with each obstacle. He navigated the weave poles with surprising precision and darted through the tunnel with ease. By the time he reached the final jump, his tail was wagging. "He's incredible," Anna exclaimed, tears welling in her eyes. Michael nodded, his chest swelling with pride. "I didn't think he had it in him, but look at him go." As Rex completed the course, Sophie threw her arms around him. "You're amazing, Rex. I knew you could do it." The event organizer approached the family afterward, clearly impressed. "You've got a natural athlete here," she said. "If you're interested, there are local agility training classes. He could really shine in competitions." Sophie's face lit up. "Can we, Daddy? Can Rex do more of this?" Michael smiled, ruffling Sophie's hair. "We'll think about it. Let's see how he feels first." The drive home was filled with excitement. Sophie couldn't stop talking about Rex's performance, and even Michael admitted he was impressed. "That was the happiest I've ever seen him," Anna said, glancing at Rex, who was lying contentedly in the back seat. "I think he found something he loves." Over the following weeks, the family enrolled Rex in agility classes. The sessions became a bonding experience for all of them, with Sophie acting as his main trainer. Rex thrived in the structured environment, surprising everyone with his speed and intelligence. It wasn't long before he entered his first local competition, where he placed third, a remarkable achievement for a dog with his history. "He's a star," Sophie declared proudly, holding Rex's ribbon. But for the family, the true victory wasn't the accolades. It was seeing Rex happy and confident, his past struggles now a distant memory. The family's joy over Rex's newfound skills and confidence was abruptly interrupted one sunny afternoon during another community event. Rex had been entered into a demonstration showcasing agility-trained rescue dogs, and the crowd was eager to see his talents. Sophie stood proudly at the sidelines, holding his leash, while Anna and Michael cheered from the stands. Rex breezed through the course, his movements fluid and precise. By the time he crossed the finish line, the crowd erupted into applause. Sophie hugged him tightly, beaming with pride. But as the family prepared to leave the event, a gruff voice called out from behind them. Well, look who we have here." Michael turned to see a man approaching, his face immediately recognizable. It was the same man who had sold them Rex at the flea market. His greasy hair and hardened expression made Anna's stomach churn. "That's my dog," the man said, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Didn't think I'd see him again, but here we are. I want him back." Sophie's grip on Rex's leash tightened, and she instinctively stepped closer to Michael. "No," she cried. "Rex is our family now." Anna stepped forward, her voice firm but calm. "You lost the right to call him yours the moment you neglected him. Look at him now. He's healthy, happy, and loved. He doesn't belong with you." The man sneered, unfazed by Anna's words. "You don't get to decide that, lady. He's my property, and unless you want trouble, I suggest you hand him over." Michael's jaw tightened. "You abandoned him. We have evidence of the condition he was in when we rescued him. You have no claim here." The man stepped closer, his voice rising. "I didn't abandon him. I sold him to you. That means he's still mine unless I say otherwise." Rex, sensing the tension, growled softly, his body pressing protectively against Sophie. Michael glanced at Anna, who nodded. "We're not discussing this here," Michael said evenly. "If you think you have a case, you can take it to court." The man smirked. "Oh, I will. Don't think I won't. I'll see you there." As the man stormed off, Sophie clung to Rex, tears brimming in her eyes. "He can't take Rex, can he? We won't let him." Anna knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "No one is taking Rex, sweetheart. He's part of our family, and we'll do everything we can to protect him." Michael nodded, his voice steady. "We have the vet reports, photos, and testimonies. If it comes to court, the truth will be on our side." That evening, the atmosphere at home was somber. Sophie refused to leave Rex's side, and Anna spent hours researching legal options. The next day, the family met with a local attorney who specialized in animal welfare cases. After reviewing their evidence, photos of Rex's condition at the flea market, vet records detailing his neglect, and testimony from Dr. Miller, the attorney assured them they had a strong case. "This isn't just about ownership," the attorney explained. "It's about the well-being of the animal. Judges take neglect and abuse very seriously, especially when there's clear evidence." Despite the reassurances, the following weeks were tense as they waited for the court date. Sophie wrote a letter to the judge, pouring her heart out about how much Rex meant to her. "He's my best friend," she wrote in careful, childlike handwriting. "He was sad and scared when we found him, but now he's happy because he knows we love him. Please don't let anyone take him away." The day of the hearing arrived, and the family walked into the courtroom with a mix of determination and anxiety. The old owner sat on the opposite side, his demeanor smug and defiant. But as the evidence was presented, the vet's reports, photos, and even Sophie's heartfelt letter, the man's confidence began to falter. When it was Sophie's turn to speak, she stood on a small stool to reach the microphone. "Rex is more than just a dog to us," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "He's part of our family. We love him, and he loves us. Please don't take him away." The courtroom was silent as the judge reviewed the evidence. Finally, he delivered his verdict. "Based on the clear evidence of neglect and the significant improvement in the animal's condition under the care of the current owners, I rule in favor of the defendants. Rex will remain with the Wilson family." Relief washed over them as the decision was announced. Sophie threw her arms around Rex, who wagged his tail as if he understood the gravity of the moment. As they left the courtroom, Anna looked at Michael with a smile of triumph. "He's finally safe," Michael nodded, pulling Sophie into a hug. "He's home." The family left the courthouse that day with an overwhelming sense of relief and gratitude. Rex, as if sensing the victory, walked beside Sophie with his head held higher than usual, his tail wagging gently. The tension of the past weeks had been lifted, and for the first time in what felt like forever, they could focus on the future without fear of losing him. When they got home, neighbors and friends who had followed the case greeted them warmly. Balloons and handmade signs saying, "Welcome home, Rex," decorated the front yard, placed there by the neighborhood kids. Sophie's best friend, Emma, ran up to her. "I told my mom you'd win," she said with a grin. "Rex belongs with you." Sophie beamed, hugging her tightly. "He's safe now, forever." That evening, the family celebrated with a small gathering in their backyard. The string lights cast a warm glow as neighbors, friends, and even Dr. Miller stopped by to congratulate them. Plates of barbecue and pitchers of lemonade were passed around as everyone shared stories about Rex's journey. Dr. Miller knelt beside Rex, scratching behind his ears. "You're quite the celebrity now, aren't you?" he said with a chuckle. Turning to the family, he added, "You've given him a second chance, and he's thriving because of it. That's no small thing." Michael raised his glass. "To Rex, and to everyone who helped us make this possible." The group raised their glasses, the clinking sound blending with laughter and cheers. The next day, news of the court case began spreading across local media. A journalist who had attended the hearing published an article titled, "From Neglect to Triumph: How One Family Fought for Their Rescue Dog." The story resonated with readers, sparking conversations about animal neglect and the importance of adopting rescue pets. Emails and letters started pouring in from people who had been moved by the family's story. Many shared their own experiences of rescuing animals and thanked the Wilsons for inspiring them. One letter stood out in particular. It was from a woman who ran a small animal rescue organization in Austin. "Your story reminded me why I started this work," she wrote. "If you're interested, we'd love to have you and Rex participate in some of our events. He's a symbol of hope, and I think he could inspire others to give animals like him a chance." Anna read the letter aloud at dinner, and Sophie's face lit up. "Can we, Daddy? Can we help other dogs like Rex?" Michael smiled. "I think that's a great idea. What do you think, Rex?" "Rex, as if understanding, let out a happy bark, making everyone laugh. The family began attending rescue events and sharing Rex's story. Sophie loved telling people about how he had overcome his fear and learned to trust again. At one event, a little boy approached her, holding the leash of a scruffy terrier mix. "Is it really true?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Rex was scared. "But now he's brave?" Sophie nodded. "It took a lot of love and patience, but he's the best dog in the world now. Your dog can be brave too." The boy smiled, crouching to pet his dog. Maybe someday. By the end of the summer, Rex had become a local hero. He and Sophie even appeared on a local news segment about rescue pets, where Sophie proudly showed off his agility skills and shared how much he meant to her. But for the Wilson family, the real reward wasn't the attention or accolades. It was the quiet, everyday moments. Watching Rex nap peacefully in the sun, seeing his tail wag when Sophie came home from school, and knowing that he finally understood he was loved. One evening, as the family sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sophie leaned against Michael's side. "Do you think Rex knows how much we love him?" she asked. Michael smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "I think he does, sweetheart. And I think he loves us just as much." Months passed, and Rex continued to blossom under the family's love and care. His once nervous eyes now sparkled with a calm confidence, and his tail, which had often been tucked tightly against his body, wagged freely with joy. The Wilsons, too, found their lives enriched by his presence. What began as a chance encounter at a flea market had transformed into a profound journey of healing and growth, for Rex and for the family. Sophie, now a few months older but as spirited as ever, had developed a remarkable bond with Rex. They were inseparable, spending hours practicing agility moves in the backyard or curling up together on the couch. "Rex, ready?" Sophie asked one afternoon, standing by a small hurdle Michael had set up. Rex crouched, his ears perked, and as Sophie gave the command, he leapt gracefully over the bar. Anna clapped from the porch. "He's a natural, Sophie. You both are. Do you think he could win a real competition?" Sophie asked, her face flushed with excitement. "I don't think," Anna replied with a smile. "I know he can." Encouraged by Rex's agility skills, the family decided to enter him into a regional competition in Dallas. Unlike the casual events they participated in before, this one was much larger, with professional trainers and seasoned competitors. The day of the competition was electric with energy. The arena buzzed with activity as dogs of all breeds and sizes prepared to showcase their talents. Sophie clutched Rex's leash tightly, her nerves showing despite her brave front. "You're going to do great, buddy," Michael reassured Rex, crouching to pet him. "Just like we practiced." When their turn came, Sophie and Rex stepped onto the course. The obstacles were more challenging than anything they'd encountered, but Sophie's voice was steady as she gave commands. "Through the tunnel, Rex. Good boy. Now over the jump." Rex moved with agility and focus, his confidence radiating. The crowd erupted in cheers as he cleared the final hurdle with ease, landing gracefully at Sophie's side. "Perfect run," the announcer declared. "Let's hear it for Rex and Sophie Wilson." Sophie hugged Rex tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You did it, Rex. You're the best dog ever." By the end of the day, Rex had earned a second-place ribbon, but to the Wilsons, he was nothing short of a champion. "That was incredible," Michael said as they loaded into the car. "I can't believe how far he's come." Anna nodded, her heart full. It's not just about the competition. It's about seeing him happy and thriving. That's the real victory. As the family returned home, they were greeted by neighbors who had watched the competition live-streamed online. Cheers and pats for Rex filled the air as the Wilsons shared the story of their day. In the months that followed, Rex's story continued to inspire. Sophie's school invited her to speak at a community event, where she shared how her family had rescued Rex and how he had changed their lives. "Rex taught me that love and patience can fix even the saddest hearts," she told the audience. "He's not just a rescue dog, he's a hero, Sophie's words sparked interest in local shelters, with families adopting more animals and offering them second chances. One crisp autumn evening, the family gathered in their backyard, surrounded by the golden hues of the season. Rex lay contentedly by the fire pit, his head resting on Sophie's lap. "Do you think Rex remembers the flea market?" Sophie asked, stroking his fur. "I don't know," Anna replied, smiling softly, "but I think he remembers the love he's felt since then. And that's what matters." Michael raised his mug of cocoa. "To Rex, to second chances, and to the family we've built together." As they toasted under the starry sky, Rex let out a contented sigh, a symbol of resilience and the power of unconditional love. His journey, though born of hardship, had become a beacon of hope, not just for the Wilsons, but for anyone who heard his story. Life settled into a joyful rhythm for the Wilson family and Rex. What once had been a household defined by quiet routines was now filled with energy and purpose. Rex's agility training continued, not for the trophies or accolades, but for the sheer joy it brought him and Sophie. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, a testament to the transformative power of love and trust. One evening, while the family was enjoying dinner, Anna received an unexpected email from a national animal welfare organization. The subject line read, "We'd like to share Rex's story." "Michael, you need to see this," Anna said, handing him her phone. The email explained how the group had learned about Rex through local news coverage and Sophie's community event speech. They wanted to feature Rex's journey as part of a national campaign to raise awareness about animal rescue and rehabilitation. "This is incredible," Michael said, his eyes lighting up. "What do you think, Soph? Should Rex become famous?" Sophie giggled, scratching Rex behind the ears. "As long as it helps other dogs like him, I think he'd like it." The following weeks were a whirlwind. A film crew visited their home to capture footage of Rex in his element, practicing agility in the backyard, relaxing on the couch, and playing with Sophie. The producers interviewed each family member, including Sophie, whose heartfelt words about rescuing Rex brought the entire crew to tears. "Rex taught me that everyone deserves a second chance," Sophie said during her interview, her small hand resting on Rex's head. "Even if you're scared or hurt, love can make everything better." The campaign, titled Rescue and Rebuild, launched nationwide, featuring billboards, online ads, and a short documentary about Rex's journey. It inspired a surge in adoptions and donations to shelters across the country. One afternoon, the family received a letter from a shelter in California. "Because of Rex's story, every single dog in our shelter has been adopted," the letter read. "Thank you for showing the world what's possible when we give animals the love and care they deserve." The family was deeply moved, and Sophie insisted on writing back. "Dear friends," her letter began, "Rex would be so happy to know that other dogs found families like ours. He says thank you, and I say thank you too." But Rex's impact didn't stop there. The Wilsons were invited to attend a national animal welfare conference, where they shared their story with a room full of rescue advocates, veterinarians, and shelter workers. Michael spoke about the legal battle they had faced. Anna shared tips on rehabilitating traumatized animals, and Sophie stole the show with her heartfelt speech. "Rex isn't just my dog," she told the audience. "He's my best friend, and he's taught me to be brave and kind. If you ever see a dog who needs help, don't walk away. You could be their hero." The audience gave her a standing ovation, many dabbing at their eyes. Back at home, life remained delightfully ordinary. Rex still loved his long walks with Michael, his quiet moments with Anna, and his adventures with Sophie. But he also became a symbol of hope in their community, appearing at local schools, shelters, and events to promote animal rescue. One warm spring day, the family gathered in their backyard for a small celebration marking 1 year since Rex had joined their lives. Balloons hung from the fence, and a cake decorated with a paw print sat on the table. "Happy Gotcha Day, Rex," Sophie declared, hugging him tightly. As the sun set, Michael raised a toast. "To Rex, for teaching us about resilience, love, and the power of second chances." Anna smiled, her eyes misty. And to Sophie, for never giving up on him. The evening ended with Rex lying contentedly by the fire pit, Sophie's head resting on his side. The family looked on, knowing that their journey with Rex had changed them forever. For Rex, the future held only love and happiness, a promise that the Wilsons were determined to keep. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and watch this next story. It's incredible.